Thank you. Okay. Risks, it's called effect of uncertainty. Effect of uncertainty. There is some effect. There is an event. It may happen. It may not be happen. When it's uncertainty, it's uncertain, and it has an effect. This effect, it can be positive effect or it can be negative effect. I think negative effect, we can understand this. The gentleman, he gave the, or I mean the two gentlemen, they gave a good definition for the risk, which is a negative effect. It's a probability that there is a threat, it can exploit a vulnerability and cause some negative consequences or impact on the organization. It can attack a website, it can attack a process, whatever it is. When this, it will be the negative effect. But what is the positive effect? Do you have an idea about any example of positive effects of risks? Because unfortunately, our definition of risks, it's always negative. Although this is not the life. Life, we have positive, negative, and even, I'm quite sure you may hear this about, there is called something called a neutral. In some situations, there is a neutral effect as well. Another, do you have any example of a positive effect? Okay, when we say effect, it's not mean that all the, risk, it's not mean that all the risks are bad. In some situation, we may have some risks which is good. For example, I am a company, I am dealing with a vendor. This vendor, he provide PCs for me. And I am paying for him $1 million every year. One day, another company, new company in the market, they came and they told me, okay, we are ready to provide you the PCs, but we will give you additional 10% or 15% discount. Then instead of paying $1 million every year, I will pay $850,000 only. And this is one of the positive impact. Why it's considered a risk? This is considered a risk because the first company, it's well-established company. They provide me the PCs on time and they never delayed. But this new company, I'm not sure that they will be able to provide me the PCs on time, and this it may affect my operations if the PCs are not delivered on time. But on the other hand, I will utilize the discount and I will make additional 15% profit in my yearly financial close. How can I utilize this positive effect? This which we call it risk exploit. Risk exploit. Okay, what will happen? The company, it will not be able to deliver the machines on time. That's fine. I will buy some machine and keep it aside for any reasons. Yani this means that if the company, they are not able to deliver the machines for me on time, then it's okay, no problem. I will be able to take some of machines from my warehouse, which I keep it as a stock, and I will be to utilize it until the company, it will be able to deliver these machines. Then this what we call it the exploit of the risk. Then here, My friends, you have to understand when we say risk, it's not only a negative attitude. It can be negative or a positive attitude. As I told you in our example, that this it will save 15% profit. And this which we call it opportunity. This which we call it opportunity. When we have a risk and it has a positive attitude, usually we call it opportunity. Okay, and it's important that all the risks and opportunities to be documented. In ISO 27001, all the risk management activities must be documented. All of them must be documented. This is very important. Okay. We are still in clause number 6 for planning, and we will have the 6.12, which is the security risk management or security risk assessment. In security risk assessment, what we are doing? In the security risk assessment, we will deal with the identifying the risks. Number one, we have to identify the assets. And I will try to explain this in whiteboard instead of do it as slides. And I hope that I will be able to summarize it to you in a professional way. Look, gentlemen, in the risk management, step number one, you have to establish the organization context, to understand the organization context. And we will explain this in more details later when we are discussing the our practical example. This organization context to understand how the risk management, it will work in my organization. Okay, this is step number one. And this classification, by the way, it is the ISO 27005 classification. Step number two, you have to make the risk assessment. And risk assessment, we have 2 or 3 subcomponents. Number one, risk identification. And in the risk identification, you have to define the assets. You have to define the vulnerabilities for these assets. You have to define the threats. You have to define the existing controls. And finally, you have to define the consequences. Assets, of course, we can understand what are the assets. Let's speak about a simple example, the network. The assets, it's our network. And what is the vulnerabilities? Vulnerabilities, they are the weakness. Vulnerabilities, they are the weakness in the assets, which it can be exploited by the threat or the hacker. Vulnerabilities that, for example, data, it's transferred in clear text. Data can be transferred in clear text over the network. And this, it will allow the hackers, which is the threat, to capture this data. Whatever any existing controls or any existing security controls you may have encryption. If you have encryption, for example, then this means that the data, it's not moving in clear text and it's encrypted. And even the hacker, if he was able to capture the data, then it will be useless. Then finally, consequences. What are the consequences? What are the impact which you will have it if the data, it will be captured by the hacker? Step number 2, it will be risk analysis. In risk analysis, you have to define the risk impact, or in other words, we are saying risk consequences and risk probability. Or again, in some other words, we are called risk likelihood. Okay? Based on the impact and the risk probability, you can define the risk level. What is the risk level or risk priority? Then, for example, if we are saying that the impact, it will be represented in our company as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where 1 it is least impact and 5 it is the highest impact, and the likelihood it will be again represented by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, for 1 it is happened very rare, or 5 which it will happen frequently. Then the risk level, in some situation, it can be, or usually it will be calculated as impact multiply the likelihood, or in some situation we are saying impact plus likelihood. Whatever the concept which you will follow, you have to define your standard and stick for it. Then if we say that we have a risk and its impact, it's classified as 3, while the likelihood it's classified as 2, for example, then the risk level, it will be 3 times 2 equal 6. And for example, if we want to understand the level of the impact, we can say that impact number 1, this it will cost the company for example, let's say 10,000 riyals. If it's 10,000 riyal, the company, it will lose 10,000 riyal, then it can be classified as impact number 1. If we are saying, for example, here in number 5, it will cost the company 1 million, then it will be classified number 5. Then again, likelihood, it will be here rare, for example. Here we can say frequently in number 5, and so on. Then if we are saying this risk level impact 3, this 3, it may, in this situation, it will cost the company maybe 500,000 riyal. The likelihood, it will be 2, then it can happen once a year, then the risk level is 6. Risk level is very important because according to best level, we will define the priority. And according to the priority for the risks, we will define which risks are most important for the company and it causes high impact, and we have to provide the security controls for it. This is step number 2. Step number 3, you have to say risk evaluation. In risk evaluation, you have to compare, or you have to create something called risk acceptance. What is risk acceptance? This is the value of loss which the company can accommodate. Yani it will say, okay, if I will lose something within 10,000, it's not an issue. I can accommodate. If I will lose 5K SAR, I can accommodate. This is not a big issue for me. I can accept. Then we have to compare the risk acceptance and of course, this it will not be the situation as 5K, but what we have to compare the risk level into the risk acceptance, where the risk acceptance, it say that the risk acceptance, it will be the risk level which is less than or equal, for example, 3. Then whatever any risk level, it's less than or equal 3, it will be accepted. But in our situation here, the risk impact is 3, which is, 6, which is more 3 than 3, then it's not accepted. And we have to take in our consideration this to make the mitigation or to fix the problem or to minimize the risk. Step number 3, the risk treatment. Now we discovered the risk level with the risk level equal 6, and our risk acceptance it's equal 3 or more or less. Then this means that we have to make a treatment for this risk. The treatment options, we have 4 popular treatment options. Mitigate. This means that you have to issue a control or multiple controls to minimize the consequences or the likelihood of the risk, or you have to transfer the risk as the insurance. If my data center is burned, then the company or the insurance, they have to pay me some specific money, or to avoid that you have to avoid the risk at all. If I know that if I publish a web server, then it will create a good chance for hackers to penetrate my network, then I would say, okay, gentlemen, there is no need to publish this website over internet. Let's do it on the intranet and allow the users to connect through VPN. Then avoid, this means that you have to kill the source of the attack, the source of the risk at all by closing this point. In some situation, you may not be able, because this could be a business requirement. But anyway, if it's critical, then we can avoid it, or finally, you can accept the risk. If the risk, you will find that the risk, it is within your acceptance level, then you can accept it. Or if you find that the control, it will cost you a value more than the risk consequences. Yeah, for example, if the risk happens, then it will cost the company 10K, but the controls required 15K. Then this means that it will be a loss. Then there is no need to make the control, and I will accept the risk. Finally, you will find the risk monitoring, because of course, as you remember, we said that the risk and it based on the BDCA, because this is a continual process and you have to make improvement for the process. When you discovered risks, it does not mean that these risks are constant. They are changeable. The risk level is changeable because there are other factors change it according as to the change factors in the organization. Then you have to monitor the risk level, and you have to monitor any new risk level, risks which can be emerging to the organization. Okay. This is a simple representative for the risk management phases. Do you have any questions related to the risk management? Please feel free to ask about risk management. It's very important, and it's considered the backbone for the security controls.
Yes, I have a question. Regarding, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so regarding the calculation of the risk, is there a specific way that you explained? Is it the specific way that ISO require, or is it up to the organization that choose the calculation method that they want?
Excellent question. Yes, thank you. ISO does not mandate any standard for the risk management, but the ISO 27001, they split the risk management into these phases: establish organization context, risk assessment, risk treatment, and risk monitoring and reporting. Then whatever any standard you will follow, even if it's international standard or other standard which is developed inside the company, and we are matching the same results as required by ISO, it will be accepted. Even the methodology, if you will use whatever any methodology, Meharty or Octave or whatever methodology for the risk assessment, again, it's acceptable as soon as they are meeting the requirements, this classification as we mentioned here.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we covered these definitions, methodologies, identification owner. Okay, we covered all these points. Risk treatment, yes. I think we have only two other more concepts which we want to highlight in the risk management to close number 6. Two issues. What are they? Statement of applicability, SOA, and risk treatment plan, risk treatment plan. Statement of applicability and the risk treatment plan. What is a statement of applicability? Do you remember, gentlemen, when we say that in ISO 27001, it has two components. Component number 1, it's a clauses. Component number 2, annex. And we said that the annex, it's a group of controls, 114 controls. These 114 controls are distributed into 14 categories. These controls, when you want to implement the ISO 27001, you have to define what are the controls which it will fit to your organization. You have to define what are the controls which it will fit to your organization. In some situations, there may be some controls which it not be suitable for your organization. For example, in Annex A, we have remote access. Suppose that your organization does not provide remote access for user to its resources from outside. Then whatever any controls in the Annex A, it will not be valid because this is not valid in my organization. In SOA, our statement of applicability, this means that you have to define whatever any controls you will choose from the Annex A and type why the business justification. Why did you choose or why did you drop? Then it's not mandatory to apply the 114 controls. It can you apply some of them, but of course if you will apply some of them, you have to mention why did you apply them. You have to write the business justification, and if you drop some of them, you have to define why did you drop these controls as well. This is the document where the statement of applicability it will contain. In the risk treatment plan, it will be the action plan for all the treatments. It will consist of all the risks and the treatments for it. It may be transfer, it may be medicate, it may be avoid, it may be accept, and there will be a list of the controls which it will be required to be implemented, and the reference for the risks, who is the responsible person to implement these controls, what are the required resources and financial resources, and if you need any external expertise or third party to help you in the implementation, and so on. And this risk treatment plan, it will be very important because it will be the result of the risk assessment. It will consist of a list of all the risks and the controls and the actions which you have to take. It will be input for the next phase, which it will be considered as the operation, as we can see later. Finally, we will come to the security objectives sub-clause for the ISO. And you can see here the security objective. It should be aligned with the information security policy. It should be easy to measure. It must cover the needs of the organization, and it must follow the results of the risk assessment, and it must be regularly communicated to the interested parties, and the objectives, it must be have a clear description. It must have a clear description. It must be measurable, and it must have a time frame. And in some situation, when we say objectives, we are mentioned SMART. Do you know what is SMART? I want you to check what is SMART, and we will discuss this tomorrow. This your exercise for today. Just when we say objective, you have to keep SMART in your mind. What is SMART? When we will start tomorrow this session, in the introduction, I will highlight, but this is very important. When we say security objectives, you have to keep in your mind SMART. It should be follow the SMART. You must have clear description for it. It must be measurable. It must be in a specific time frame. As a quick example, when I say I want to memorize a Quran Kareem, do you think that this is an objective? Is it objective?
No, no.
Why?
There is no time frame. There is no other conditions.
Okay.
You must specify everything.
It's objective, but it's not a well-defined objective. My objective to memorize the Quran, yes, it's objective, but it's not a good developed objective, because now I can memorize the Quran in 6 months, or I can memorize it in 10 years. And of course, there will be a big difference between both of them. And when we say memorize the Quran, also it's not clear. Do you mean that you want to memorize it just memorization or with explanation? I have to understand the ayat very well. Then this means that you have to say, I want to memorize a Quran with and understanding the meanings within 1 year. This is a proper objective. This is a proper objective. Okay, I think now it's 8 o'clock and we have to stop here. Just I want to share with you the this slide with you again. This is my information. If you want to communicate with me, this is my email, this is my WhatsApp, this is my mobile number. Please write it down because I will not be able to upload the records right now because it will take some time to be uploaded, and I did not receive the email address from Dr. Ahmed. Then it may take 1 or 2 days till it will be uploaded. please feel free to contact me through email, whatever, or WhatsApp, or whatever. You are most welcome. I consider you as your big brother. Please, if you have any question, clarification for today's session, or security, or whatever, in our security field, you are most welcome. You can reach me through my contact information. Do you have any questions before closing our session for today?
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your patience and your attendance. And tomorrow, if you don't mind, my friends, we want to start sharp at 5 o'clock, because as you can see, the topic is very long, and I want to make sure that it reach to you in a proper way and you can understand it in a proper way, inshallah. Then tomorrow, I will start sharp at 5 o'clock, inshallah. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Dr. Naveed,
Yes.
could I talk to you in private, in Teams?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Should I call you now?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Doctor, did you upload the grades for forensic?
Forensics?
Yes.
No, forensics grade will be uploaded by Dr. Raja and Brother Al Khatib.
Okay.
Sorry
Yes.
for disruption, but if I make end from my side, it will disable the meeting for all the attendees. And this means that if I make end meeting, it will be end meeting for all. I'm really sorry, but this is by configuration in the Zoom configuration.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We are done. Thank you so much for this great session. And inshallah, meet you tomorrow.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Walaikum salam.